Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Huge episode this week as we talk about all the repercussions from last weekend's competitive play. Standard rotated, and we lost a lot of cards, but Guilds of Ravnica came in to fill a lot of the voids. And you're going to notice, of course, some huge repercussions in the secondary market. Not only today will we talk about Standard, but as always, we'll look at Modern, some Vintage Magic, a little bit of Pauper and Commander 2 at the end of the video. One quick note, though, about today's video. We will not be talking about Guilds of Ravnica cards on their own. We did a companion video about those a couple days ago. I'll link it at the end in case you missed it. Quickly before we get started, though, just a fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to help support us here at the channel, one of which is our Patreon page. You're also going to find links to products on Amazon down below. If you make any purchases, once you go through that link, we'll get a small percentage. Finally, Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers. Hopefully you can save some cash while you support us. They're actually doing pre-orders right now for guild kits if you're looking for those. And with that being said, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to all the viewers. Y'all make the channel what it is. I appreciate each and every one of you, but let's get into it. We're going to begin with the top 5 standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Number 5, Tezzeret Artifice Master, down 46 cents to $9.25. Unfortunately, this card is just at the wrong place at the wrong time. With the Kaladesh block leaving, many of the cards that would interact well with it are now gone. It's just not going to do anything in Standard, it appears at this point. And even the little bit of hope we had maybe in Legacy seems to be diminishing as well. It's been many weeks now since we've seen a deck in that format trying to run a copy of this. This will continue to go down quite sharply. Number 4, Liliana Untouched by Death, down 55 cents to $6.10. You know, towards the end of the last Standard meta, a lot of people were thinking about zombies as being a thing post-rotation. Unfortunately, we started seeing those Guilds of Ravnica previews, and it pulled Brewers into different directions, and they never really got back to the zombies. I don't really see them being a thing in this current Standard. Maybe down the road, if there's more support, we'll have to wait and see. But I will say this about the card. Even though it will continue to go down at least a little bit more, I do think this is a fantastic casual card for Kitchen Table Tribal or Commander Zombie Tribal, and there's always going to be some demand for this. Number 3, Nexus of Fate, down $1.68 to $21.86. This will continue to go down. Turbo Fog had its moment in Standard. It was starting to fade out even before rotation. Once rotation happened, you're not seeing a lot of people looking at this card right now, and I don't really think it's going to do a whole lot. Again, it could come back at some point when we get more cards added to the format. But at least for right now, I would imagine this will go down quite sharply in the coming weeks. Modern, there is a Turbo Fog deck. It runs 1 copy of this typically, though, as opposed to the 4 copies you saw in the Standard version of that. But at the same time, it's also not doing a whole lot in Modern, so I wouldn't expect that to have much of an impact on the pricing. Number 2, Nicol Bolas the Ravager, down $1.72 to $25.50. This card did not have a bad weekend last weekend. There was a deck that came in second place in the Star City Game Standard Classic running 4 copies of this. It was Grixis Control. With that being said, though, the Dragon deck didn't look too impressive last weekend. I don't think that's going to change as we move forward from week to week. But the Grixis Control deck could continue to see play and put up some good results. So there will be some people interested in Nicol Bolas, but I don't think it's going to be overwhelming when it comes to demand for this card going forward. Remember, though, Rakdos is coming in the next set, and that could give this card some more tools to play with, so I don't think people are going to liquidate this card either. I think it goes down. $25 is too high of a price point still for it. Maybe it will settle in between $15 and $20 in the next couple weeks, and then we'll have to see what happens during the next preview season. Number 1, Crucible of Worlds. 5th Dawn goes down 87 cents to $31.49. 10th edition goes down $1.78 to $24.17. Of course, this card is technically Standard legal because it was reprinted in Magic 2019. And that reprint is the reason these copies are going down in value. This is still a fantastic casual card, still sees play in some competitive decks as well. Maybe most notably right now, you'll find 1 copy of this in the Mono Green Tron decks in Modern. I think these will go down a little more, though, before they finally stabilize. Okay, let's move on to the top 10 Standard legal cards that have gained value this week. That's right, I said top 10, not 5. There's just so much happening in the format. Thursday's video, we looked at 10 Guilds of Ravnica cards going up in value. Today, we're going to look at 10 more cards that are increasing. Number 10 is Banefire, up $2.14 to $3.99 for Magic 2019. This was a great sideboard card last season. It's going to continue to be a great sideboard card. You may have noticed that not all the decks were running these out of the sideboard if you were looking at deck lists that were popular, especially top 8 decks last weekend that were either mono red aggro or Boros aggro. However, enough decks were running these to pay attention to it, and aside from that, you're going to see more decks running it going forward, because typically what happens, the deeper you get into a standard format, the more control decks that start popping up, or at least more players playing those decks. Banefire will actually become better as the weeks go on, and I don't think it's going to go too much higher than it is now, but I do think this spike was warranted. Number 9, Jade Light Ranger, up 231 to 950. Very solid card last weekend in Golgari mid-range as well as Abzan mid-range. This one is not going away either. Number 8, Legion's Landing, up 236 to 690. We've seen this card in the past actually put up some nice results in Standard. Well, I think its time has come again. We saw quite a bit of it this past weekend in Selesnya tokens, Boros or White Weenie builds, and also Boros aggro builds. Number 7, Journey to Eternity, up 329 to 665. This did see a little bit of standard play in some of those Golgari mid-range builds, sometimes as a one-of, but that's not the main reason it's moving this week. A few days ago, the Mana Source did a video looking at some commander cards that were undervalued, but also from standard, and this was one of them, and I do think that puts some extra attention on the card this week. Number 6, Vraska Relic Seeker, up 331 to $15. This had a pretty solid weekend. It was coming out of the sideboards of those Steel Leaf Stompy decks. Although those decks didn't put up huge results, we'll have to see if that changes in the coming weeks. Where this did really look great, though, was in the mid-range decks, Golgari and Abzan. And as a matter of fact, many of those decks were running more copies of this than Vraska Golgari Queen, which I thought was maybe a little surprising because of the mana cost differential, although this is a very good card when it does hit the battlefield. A lot of times you saw 2 of these and just 1 copy of Golgari Queen. But I do think this will continue to see play going forward and might even creep up a little higher than it is now. Number 5, Resplendent Angel, goes up 351 this week to 1595. This card had a pretty big week. Boros Angels decks looked really solid. Of course, this was a key part of those. You also found this sometimes in the Boros Aggro, Abzan Knights, Abzan Midrange. It was kind of all over the place. Number 4, Vivian Reed, up 415 this week to 1349. Another solid performance by a Planeswalker here. She was showing up in Still Leaf Stompy decks, Abzan and Golgari midrange decks, and coming out of the sideboard many times in Selesnya tokens decks. Number 3, Sulphur Falls, the Innistrad version, going up 204 to 925, Dominaria going up 425 to 998. This card was part of some of the control mana bases this weekend, Jeskai and Grixis control. It also sees modern play as well. Number 2, Star of Extinction, up 510 to $7. This one's kind of interesting. We didn't see any crazy performance from this card this past weekend, but it's still spiked a little bit. Why is that? Well, some of it is buzz around people trying to figure out if they can work this into Boros aggro decks because of the combo with True Fire Captain. Now, if someone can work that out, wonderful. I'm a little skeptical, though, because the casting cost is just so high. You have to get the True Fire Captain out, then you have to cast this for 7, and then you have to have it not be disrupted, basically. Now, when it works, it will be really, really cool, but I don't know if it's going to be consistent enough for Standard. Could be fun to play in casual games, though. Number 1, Lyra Dawnbringer has a huge week, going up $653 to $22. And this is a fantastic sideboard card. We saw this in many decks coming out of the board this past weekend, just because it's so good against aggro especially. It can deal with a lot of the small creatures being 5/5 for a strike, and the lifelink is going to let you catch up if you had a lot of life loss early. So combine that with the fact that this is really good also in that Angel deck out of the main, of course, because it's the lord of that deck, and you got yourself a card that's moving up quite aggressively. And I don't think that's going to change over the coming weeks, especially once people saw how good aggro looked last weekend. This card will go up some more. Alright, let's move on to the top 5 modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Modern, much slower this week, as everyone's focused on Standard right now. Number 5, Chalice of the Void, Masters 25 down $1.56 to $48.43. Modern Masters down $1.71 to $47.99. Now that Masters 25 reprint did soften these cards a little bit, but also this card's seeing a little bit less play percentage-wise than it was seeing maybe a few months ago with some of the changes to the modern format especially. So it is going to creep down, I think, just a little bit more before it stabilizes. Maybe it's going to stick closer to the $45 mark for a little while, but it is still seeing significant play. Don't underestimate it. You'll still find at least a little bit of this in Vintage, and it still sees quite a bit of play in Modern and Legacy. Number 4, Phantasmal Image from Magic 2012, down $1.77 to $16.98. This card has been extremely hot recently, so you're just seeing a little bit of an adjustment this week. Nothing unusual here, but this is part of the Humans deck, part of the Spirits decks. 2 very, very popular archetypes right now in the format. Number 3, Karn Liberated, down $3.18 to $88. This is the new Phyrexia version, and much like the card we just saw, it's not that Karn isn't seeing lots of play. Mono Green Tron especially is very hot right now, but it has been increasing pretty aggressively over the last few months, so it's time for it to normalize at least a little bit. And because a lot of players are not focused on Standard this current week, this card gets a little bit softer, at least temporarily. This will bounce back, though, within a week or two. Number 2, Greater Oromancy, down $3.98 to $40.01. This card was moving recently, not because of Modern, but because of Commander. A lot of folks that wanted to buy that Adaptive Enchantment deck from Commander 2018, they were picking this up as an upgrade card. And it was very, very hot for a while and was spiking very aggressively. So again, you're just seeing some normalization here, nothing unusual. This will go down a little bit more before it stabilizes, I think. And it is a Shadowmoor card. Those do tend to be a little more jumpy due to the fact that that set had a comparatively lower print run. Number 1, Cavern of Souls for Modern Masters 2017, down $4.11 to $80. Very similar path here as Phantasmal Image. The card's been super hot recently. It's in so many important decks in Modern and Legacy, and much like Phantasmal Image, a couple of the big ones, Humans, the Spirit decks are two that have been really popular recently. So again, you're just seeing a little normalization in a week where people aren't paying as close attention to Modern. Alright, let's move into the top 5 Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Again, you're not going to see a lot of cards here that are moving because of gameplay. You're seeing some Commander cards and maybe some cards that people are speculating might be good in Modern. Number 5, Doubling Season from Ravnica City of Guilds goes up $1.55 to $48.66. This was recently reprinted in Battle Bond as a Mythic, which is why some of these cards were softer for a little while, but it was Mythic and not a ton of Battle Bond got open. So put it all together and it's about time for these to start creeping up again, and that's what you're seeing here. And they're not going to go back down at this point until we see another reprint, and who knows when that's going to be. All these Doubling Seasons will just slowly climb up. They're just too strong of Commander cards to sit still. Number 4, Privileged Position goes up $1.95 this week to $27.67. This card's been on a weird roller coaster ride for a while now. It got super hot due to the Adaptive Enchantment Commander 2018 deck. A lot of people picked this up as an upgrade. Right when it was starting to cool off, Saffron Olive on MTG Goldfish did a deck tech with this card, which got some more attention on it. And then we found out it was being reprinted in the Selesnya Guild kit, which is coming soon. So it started to soften up finally. But you know what? People that want to play with this card, especially in Commander, they're not going to wait for that reprint. They decided this week they're going to go out and buy it, and it went up a little bit. Don't buy it now, though. Wait until the reprint comes out in a few weeks. This will soften up again. Number 3, Vexing Devil, up $1.96 to $14.99. This card got really hot recently due to the Suicide Zoo Modern deck that Magic Aids featured, and we'll have to see. Will the deck put up a good result? If it does, this card could go up quite a bit. If it doesn't put up a good result in the next few weeks, then it will go back down. Number 2, Horizon Canopy from Future Sight goes up $2.22 this week to $80.04. Again, this breaks the $80 mark. This card's just crazy. First off, Future Sight did have a lower print run, and because of that, this card does tend to get jumpy. And even though this did get a reprint in Iconic Masters, so many players gravitate towards this original version with the Future Sight border as well as the unique art. And aside from that, this card is played all over the place. In Modern, you'll find this in Humans, Spirits, Collected Company, Hexproof, just to name a few decks. Even in Legacy, it's in a number of decks, including Death and Taxes. Card is played everywhere right now. Number 1, Necrotic Ooze goes up $5.58 to $8. Now, this is jumping this week due to an article that Ben Friedman did for Star City Games, and he showcased a deck there that uses this as well as Doom Whisper. Again, it's more speculative than anything. Will a deck like that be able to put up a good result? Well, time will tell. If it does, this will jump up tremendously, I'm sure. If it doesn't, it will go back down within a few weeks. Now, I'm a little skeptical, though, of the build. I do think it's cool, and I like the combo there, but at the same time, I feel like it's asking for a little too much for Modern, which is a very fast format right now. Okay, let's move on to the Vintage Spotlight. And Unlimited cards continue to be hot, although we do see some other cards creeping in this week as well. City of Traders goes up $5.99 to $275.99. This is on the reserve list, and it's not increasing by a huge amount percentage-wise, but I did want to include it because this is going up due to true gameplay. This card right now is all over the place in Legacy. Balduvian Trading Post goes up $8.77 to $11.86 from Alliances, another reserve list card. But this one is not going up because of gameplay, it's going up because it's a buyout. Now, this is a very fragile buyout because it's from Alliances, and even though this is a reserve list card, Alliances had a pretty high print run comparatively, and there's a lot of copies of this thing out there. So even if I go to the online marketplace and I buy up all the cards and I try to flip them quickly, if I can flip them fast enough, I could make some money, sure. Obviously, if I can sell these for $10, $11 and I bought them for maybe closer to $3 or $4, I'll make something. But if you don't do that very, very, very fast, and I don't know how many people are going to bite here, you're going to be in trouble because with all the cards in circulation, people are going to see this spike. They're going to go to their closets. They're going to go in their binders. They're going to find 3-4 copies of this card, and they're going to sell them or put them up for sale anyway because of the price point. And quickly, this price point will erode. So whether it happens that way or the person does sell the cards back very quickly, this is not going to last real long. Mahamodi Jin from Unlimited goes up 22.81 this week to 72.73. This is not on the reserve list. It's been reprinted many times if you want a cheaper copy, but this Unlimited version has been hot recently. Sol Ring from Unlimited goes up $89 this week to $199. And yeah, I know it's not on the reserve list. It gets reprinted all the time. We see it in the Commander products, right? But even so, there is a market for this card, and it's been hot recently again. Now, collectors are gravitating towards these cards from Unlimited because they're seeing a lot of price spikes recently due to the fact that stores are a little more willing to trade and deal in these over alpha and beta because they can move faster. Also, 93, 94 players are going to need copies that are older, and this is definitely better than spending money on an alpha or beta edition, right? So, yeah, this card will continue to stay hot. It could see some recalibration in the coming weeks, but for the most part, this is only going to go up. Old Man of the Sea from Arabian Nights. This is on the reserve list. It goes up 108.82 this week to 293.99. This actually is not a buyout. What happened here, if you look at the market, there's a couple new near mint copies that showed up this past week, and that's pushing the price point a little higher. Illusionary Mask from Unlimited goes up 135.46 this week to 257. Now, this is on the reserve list and was never reprinted after this point. These Unlimited reserve list cards, especially the ones that did not get reprinted and revised, are really hot right now. And finally, last card for this section, Underground Sea from Unlimited goes up 326.54 to 1,326.49. Now, the last two cards we just looked at on the list were moving more aggressively because there were some higher grade copies put out for sale this week. If those copies either come down in price or get sold, then you'll see an adjustment in the coming weeks. This is a little different. There are some decent grade copies out there, but it doesn't feel like they just entered the marketplace today. It just feels like generally all the prices are going up on this card. Now, maybe some of the cheaper versions left the marketplace. That might be why we're seeing a spike this week. Maybe they just got bought up. But I think for the most part, this does feel like pretty legitimate growth. I do think there'll be some snapback in the next few weeks and some recalibration, but for the most part, this card is truly growing. All right, let's move on to our Commander Spotlight. Back to cards we can actually afford, hopefully. Vanquisher's Banner goes up $1.07 to $4.94. Fantastic for tribal builds, obviously. Now, this is another card that was featured in that Mana Source video, so that's part of the reason it's going up this week. Seedborn Muse from 9th edition goes up $1.28 to $14.94. Another card that got a reprint recently in Battle Bond, although this time the reprint wasn't rare. So this card, as well as the other versions of it, did get soft for a while. But again, time has passed, and these are starting to creep up again. Gwendolyn de Corsai goes up $3.70 this week to $139.50. This is on the reserve list, and I try to point out these gold, especially reserve list cards, when they do creep up. Many of them are very solid for Commander, but for the most part, these are moving because of their collectability more than anything. But this one is going up this week, and again, this feels like normal growth and not manipulation. Here's another one, Roga of Kirkheap, up $5.82 to $44.97. It's on the reserve list. This card has been hot ever since Mark Rosewater mentioned kobolds in a poll. Got people thinking that maybe he's alluding to the fact that they might be coming back at some point. Phyrexian Dreadnought is next from Mirage. This goes up $6.74 to $47.24. This is on the reserve list, but it did get a Judge promo reprint at one point, and that is in foil. Now, that one will cost you more, obviously. This is the cheaper version. The reason this card has gotten as hot as it has been recently is because of Lazav, ever since Lazav got previewed. So a lot of players want to play with that combo, whether it's Kitchen Table Magic or Commander. Some people are even thinking about Brews for Legacy or Vintage. We'll see if that actually pans out. But regardless, this card has been going up quite a bit. Angus Mackenzie up $28.11 to $254, another reserve list gold card from Legends. This one you might actually really want to play in Commander. Some of them aren't all that fantastic. They're more collector's items. But this one is actually a good pillow fort card. Unfortunately, it's just gotten very expensive. Okay, let's close things out with a Pauper Spotlight card, and I'll let you guess what it is. Yup, you're right. It's the Black Lotus of Pauper Oubliette, up $1.09 to $38.58. Now, we talk about this card a lot in these Pauper Spotlights, but it typically actually doesn't move all that much. It goes up, it goes down, sits around the $38, $39 price point all the time. Part of the reason it's as steady as it is because Mark Rosewater has recently mentioned that it's only a matter of time before this does get a reprint somewhere. We don't know when that will be, but Pauper players that play Mono Black Control will be very happy when it happens. Alright, with that being said, that's the Market Watch for this week. A lot going on, and we'll continue to follow the market closely. We'll be doing another Guilds of Ravnica video midweek next week, as well as our regular Market Watch next Saturday. So stay close to things. Prices will be changing, but until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.